About 8 years ago, we were getting tired of new employees joining, and I would meet with all the new employees and go through this 100-page slide deck. And 2 out of 3 really got it and understood, and their managers had properly described to them Netflix. And 1 out of 3 were in shock because the deck has some aggressive statements like adequate performance gets a generous severance package, and we're a team, not a family. And so if you know that going in, you can love it. But if you don't know it and you didn't expect it, you feel bait and switched. And so the big driver was we realized every candidate should get it. And then, of course, if every candidate's going to get it, it's going to be public. So let's just make it public.
As you're doing scale to kind of keep a cultural norm as you scaled, was that one of the central tools for doing that?
Yes. I wouldn't quite say keep a cultural norm, but it was to share and debate. One of the great things about putting things in writing is that it makes it more debatable. And so it's not just hearing a sermon and it's like, okay, that's nice, but you can comment on, this part here that we wrote down doesn't really seem appropriate or doesn't seem what we do, or, to some degree, it's a bill of rights for employees, which is here's a set of things that we, the company, want to and aspire to operate by. And if we don't, you can call us on it, and then we'll either fix the articulation because it's too easy to misunderstand or live up to what we want to. So in some ways, it's aspirational. And then by putting it in writing, which probably started 5 years before that, it allows all the people in the company to collaborate on it and to suggest improvements. Literally about us. And we realized that what we valued most, even more than success, was working with really talented people in a productive way. That joy of excellence was incredible. And of course, if you can get that joy of people excellence and talent density, then you're very likely to win. So, they come together. But at the core, it was about having dense talent. And part of it was, after we did this 1/3 layoff, it was 120 people to 80. We had expected to basically grind to a halt and really not be able to make any improvements because it would take 80 people just to keep the lights on. But in fact, we got more done with only 80 people. We tried to figure out why, and we realized now there was no dummy proofing necessary. And so it was just everybody was going fast and everything was right. We realized with the right density of talent, there's very little process needed, and that was the joyful thing. So at first we said, well, let's do a 1/3 layoff every year. That was the key. And
that's a long-term winning strategy.
That's a long-term winning. It might be, back to the blitz scaling thing. So, and then we realized,
blitz shrinking. We're going to now add
blitz shrinking. Well, you want your gross ads to be, 100%,
Yes.
and your net ads are less. But talent density matters so much. So then we figured, no, let's not do a layoff every year like that. Let's just do continued focus. And the big evolution we came to is for managers, they have to each year testify for each of their people that if that person were trying to quit, they would try to change their mind. And so it's up to the manager to decide, yes, I would want to change their mind, but sometimes you find that you have people working for you, and if they quit, you'd be like, oh, that's pretty good. And that's the case we wanted to proactively, not wait for them to quit, but proactively give them a generous severance package.
Performance.
Different ways and effective different ways of dealing with things. And so, the literature on culture is pretty clear that strong cultures work and weak cultures are diffuse. So in a weak culture, it's really a diverse culture. You get many people acting very differently, and then they don't understand each other and they feel undercut and political. Even in let's take a Hollywood studio that many of you would not like to work in, they have a very clear system of how to operate in terms of how they manage the politics, and it's internally consistent, and everybody knows it, and the people who get good at it love it, and a lot of people don't, and that's just it's not inherently awful or ineffective. It just wasn't right, say, for us. You can't let friendship get in the way of professional judgment. So you've always got to be thinking, do I have the right team? And I owe it to the whole team, to the marketplace, to my investors, to myself, to do what I think is the right thing for the company.
The compassion is not only to the individual, the compassion is to the company, the compassion is to the customers, the compassion is to shareholders. You actually have to integrate all of that compassion. Once you're doing that, that actually makes I understand this is painful for you, but actually, in fact, it's still a compassionate act. And that was actually one of the things I found really good in how.
Yeah, and I think one part of compassion is a severance package because, when you cut someone loose and, it's a week or two of pay, it really can be difficult for them. But our minimum is 4 months and it goes up from there. So even if like 2 weeks in, we realize, there's a mistake, as long as the person hasn't lied to us or something, but we've made a mistake, they get a 4-month severance package. And so really the professional relationship is like a sports team. And if you want to win a championship, you got to have incredible talent at every position. And so we say, look, we're like a professional sport, not like your kid's soccer team, but no, like a professional sports team where we pay people well, we want them to win. And if you have one bad game, you don't like lose your position. But ultimately, you're fighting for your position every year. And that's how we feel about it. And it's, as long as we're honest about it, it's exciting because then you can play really sophisticated sports. So to do a blind pass in soccer and you just know the person's there, that's an art. You need great teammates, that you are so well rehearsed. And, so to do that, you need great talent, and that's fun to be around.